I was given a framework by a mentor where I saw the world as flow state and illusion. Anything that wasn't flow was an illusion. And that really helped me to understand my own flow state philosophy and way of life. And this particular model, yesterday, I gave to one of my clients, and I told her that, look, you can change the word flow and change the word illusion. What does your life really stand for? What is your theme? And, she's a model and so forth. And so she, now with beauty on one side, what is the opposite of that? And I think the word chaos came about. We didn't want to use the word ugliness. This is really powerful because this one model has now become other people's models from my mentor. He gave it to me, and now I'm passing it on to you. I remember Felix at the time of our coaching a really long time ago, right? I remember him getting a similar model and me introducing this to him. But what is this understanding that we're going from the carnal to the cosmic? This primal essence and this understanding that once duality begins, sex begins. Sex is just two opposites making an attempt to become one, going back to its oneness. So a craving for orgasm is a craving for oneness. Sex is natural, it's in the body. Sexuality is what humans invented. I would say 90% of all human activity is either pursuing sex or avoiding sex. If this attraction between the species did not exist, if there was no carnal lust, there would be no planet, there would be no population. How can you take a physical process of procreation and make it something that's sinful? When you can't accept the fundamental differences between man and woman, that's when you get exploitation of women, exploitation of men. This breathing process is called anapanasati. Anapanna means in and out, inhale, exhale, and sati is the female consort. Now this is a method that I discovered very early on, okay? Now, throughout my life, I've discovered flow through many different protocols in many different ways. At first, I was interested in the art of theater and acting. So I'd get on stage and I'd feel immediate stage fright. How do I overcome these eyes on me, this ego that's coming in and being like, oh, what if I have a bad performance? These inner thoughts of my inner critic would come in the way and actually stop me, pull me back from the present moment. And I would also struggle with anxiety. So think about that, right? I was always anticipating the danger of the future, the threat of the future. And so it was this mental teleportation that kept bringing me into, oh my God, it's gonna go horribly wrong, okay? When really, when I tried it, hey, it wasn't that bad, okay? I did it, I actually did it. I didn't think I could, but I did it. And that's the thing, a solid belief system is what is required to reframe you at times. Now, there have been many times where I've had epiphanies and breakthroughs, okay? I remember once that I was performing on stage. It was an incredible rap performance, okay? I was rapping to the beat "I'm Millie," okay, by Lil Wayne, I remember in high school, right? Okay, I was in Super Saiyan mode. They couldn't stop me. They wanted to drag me off of the stage because I was rapping for too long. Do you get that? They had to physically take security and get me off of that stage because I just wouldn't stop rapping. I was performing the Samili song. I came off of the stage. They dragged me off, okay? And the cutest girl, okay, came up to me. She was like, oh my God, that was such a great performance. I, being a shy beta male at that point, I didn't know what the fuck was happening. This was clearly female attention, but I didn't know what to do with it, right? In that moment. I kind of nervously laughed, like, aha, thank you. Oh, that means a lot. And I hugged her, right? I remember hugging her. Thank you. In that moment, I knew she felt my neediness. Okay? Afterwards, I just knew it. I didn't know how to handle the spotlight. I didn't know how to handle my success. It was an incredible performance. I saw the results of my golden shadow, a beautiful woman coming after the performance going, shit, you're hot, okay? How can you rap for that long? And now I understand that going back, if I had to rewind back to the past, I would be like, listen, little man, you should have gotten in contact with that woman. But if you truly felt that this was the right moment, you could have even asked her, hey, do you have Instagram? Let's keep in touch, right? I didn't have that game back then. I didn't even know what to say. But now, looking back at that, I understand that flow state is when we go beyond ourselves, our own egos, our own cultural conditioning, everything that's been preventing us and blocking us. Flow state is the way out of there. It's when you start to stretch your personality, your identity, and you become greater. You start to transcend beyond the boundaries of what you thought was possible. So going into the stretch zone, feeling at your edge, feeling that there's something here happening, that I'm going through this internal and external process where my being and my doing and merging. A lot of people think that flow state is just sports. Other people think it's just meditation. What if you could be meditative while playing sports? That's what we're really talking about. Action and awareness merging. The beingness and the doingness connecting and being there at the same time. Joy is flowing with what is. Suffering is resisting what is. Acceptance is very, very key when it comes down to flow. If you're resisting, you're creating more tension, you're creating more pressure. But oftentimes on this hero's journey, the thing that we resist the most will show up on our path. That is the thing that will bring us to our greatest activation of our flow. What if you were exactly who you needed to be right now? What if there is nothing to change right now? What if everything will unfold as it should? But also, you do have some say in this. You do have some leverage. You do have that fire in the belly that I was talking about. You saw it in my video yesterday. Something cracked in my brain, right? Where I let go. You got to understand how to mimic game day, okay? Game day is coming, okay? Whether you're an athlete, whether you're presenting something, whether you're doing something, whether you're having something, whatever you're doing to tap into the zone, game day is coming. So you have to mimic and recreate those same conditions in that world, right? Ryan recently did a competition. My coach, my trainer, recently also did a competition. How do we remain focused in competition? Getting into a musicality with the movement, along with mindfulness. Mind and body merging together, okay? The same, being and doing this, okay? You know when you play a song that you really love and you can't help but dance, and you let that rhythm just move you and move your body, and you're feeling so good and groovy, you know what I mean? Like your body's just like, I think throughout cultures, we've always looked at sex as something bad and sinful, okay? Whereas it procreated and created all of us. What do you mean it's sinful? Okay, it's the most beautiful act. But now we've made it into an art, into a science, into all of these things to kind of add pressure on top of it. You see, sex is normal. It's something we experience through the physical body. But sexuality, that's human-made. That's something that we invented, in a sense. You get what I mean? So when we struggle to see the difference between men and women, and we understand that, hey, our brains are different, you know, the way we respond to life is different, our communication styles are different, right? Maybe our physical structure is different, right? Men are more straight in their body, and the women have more curves in that sense, right? So we understand the masculine feminine dynamic. Now, if you look at the yin yang, or you look at ancient cultures, you understand this idea of polarity. Someone commented recently about, you know, neutrons, how you have neutrons, the neutral, and the protons, electrons, right? So this understanding of the golden ratio, right? If you ever look at the golden ratio, you'll see it goes like this, but then it also has the jagged edges, okay? Now, both get to the same end goal and the same end result at the end, okay? But one is more flowy, one is more structured, okay? One is more directive and one is more creative. One is manifest, one is unmanifest, okay? It's just important to understand that this is the function of this dual nature of this world. But sometimes we get into a oneness with things where that dual nature merges. The being and the doing merges. That's flow, okay? And when we go beyond our current selves and who we think we are, we will start to thrive in this game of life, okay? So who do you think you are, okay? Who you actually are and who you should be. There's a split. Who society wants you to be and who you authentically are. There's a split there. If you merge that split, you'll be tapped into the zone. I'm telling you this, okay? Because your persona, your ego, has a preservation mechanism, okay? Has a way to protect yourself and not make you grow and make you be the same. And hey, male minds are super stubborn when it comes down to this, right? The rigidity that it creates. Like, no, my way or the highway. It'll always be like this. This is just one perspective, and I'm going to stick to this one perspective. And then the feminine energy at its most distorted is just like, oh, but there's so many possibilities. But there's so many ideas. We could do this, and we could also do that, but we could also do that, and I guess that it never ends up deciding anything. You see, it's just kind of search. So it needs each other. You see, the masculine needs the feminine to thrive. The feminine needs the masculine to thrive. But what we've done in culture is we've created a polarization, right? Men going their own way, women going their own way. Let's both go the other way. Let's not merge in dual nature, okay? How shamanic is that, bro?
Oh, it's not.
You gotta understand that you're made from the star stuff, the same stuff that's up there in the stars. You're made of that star stuff, the same star stuff. So if you can make love with someone with all of their flaws and idiosyncrasy, your body has this carnal desire to want to procreate, to want to do things, right? It has that creativity, that libido, that energy inside of you wanting to express itself somehow. And some people can sublimate that. Artists can sublimate that, put it into their artwork and so forth. You see? That energy, that procreative fuel of your own survival, that is what you need in order for you to get inspired and move forward in this life. But what happens as we grow older? We lose our sex drive, okay? We lose that edge. We just become like, man, yeah, it's normal. But we need that understanding, man. But we need the heat of two bodies engaging with each other. We need that little bit of a pat on the back at times, right? When I go out and interact and socially interact with others, okay? They see me just like this, might be dressed like this, and they see me as almost like a yogi, right? So they joke around and they say, haha, they laugh, and it's funny, but because they don't get it. They don't see that kind of thing very often. You never see like a yogi in the club, right? You don't see a yogi in the club, okay? You don't see a yogi who's out here in the storm, as we would call it, right? There's certain people who've gone off into the mountains and they're in that world, the mystical world, okay? But to merge the mystical with the physical, that's what we want to do at Primal Sutra. We want to understand that, look, just because there was this ancient teaching a really long time ago doesn't mean that it's lost its meaning, it's lost its application. And we're not reducing it to a smaller diluted size, right? We're not like trying to engineer everything and like, pick apart different cultures. We're not trying to do that. We're looking at what works. What works? What is the most effective? That will get me my outcome, okay? But also not being so attached to the outcome that it starts to steer the ship that way. Flow needs to happen naturally. This is why it's so beautiful. I can remember all the times that I've aroused women in my life have been from the most spontaneous, genuine, effortless moments. It hasn't been pre-planned and, something that I planned in advance or something like that. You know what I mean? It's just been in the moment. It's just been something so pure. It's interesting, right? The most innocent can get us to the most seductive or I guess the most profane or the most vulgar. A little bit of this hedonism keeps our hearts pumping, keeps us feeling young again. You get what I mean? That understanding really needs to be calibrated and felt within your own internal system. You can't cut that off and be like, nope, it's not going to work for me anymore. I've reached 30. I need to settle down. I need to become serious. And so you cut off your superpower, right? You cut off your superpower in order for you to really energize yourself as a man. I'm not saying to go around and try to fill this empty void inside of yourself, hoping that this other person that you match with, meet with, or have sex with, eventually you start to, feel better about yourself. That's not what I'm saying either, okay? I'm not saying go and seek the void. I'm saying be the void. life drag you towards that direction of your greatest self. When you're super inspired, when you're transcending the self, you'll understand something. You have this hyper velocity, right? You have this hyper velocity and hyper speed. And it's this relaxed awareness and alertness that in the moment, you're not straining yourself. You get what I mean? You're not overstraining yourself. You're maintaining an inner peace with the intensity at the same time. And this is the paradox, this is the beauty. It's that bit of grit, but it's a relaxed action at the same time. You see? It's grit with relaxation. That's the zone. You gotta push with the struggle phase and then let go. Push 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 and then let go. Eventually, the byproduct is a change in consciousness, a change in your state of mind and how you're perceiving yourself in the world. Because the self-perception is completely shut off, right? You're not really worried about what you're doing or what you're seeing or even that. Because you're in the doingness and the beingness of it, right? You're not just in the one. You're not thinking about being in the flow because that takes you out of the flow. You're feeling into the presence, and that's the secret. You got to feel into the presence, not think your way into presence using logic. A lot of people think that they can think themselves into presence. Mindfulness helps to some extent. That might be the glue, right? What am I seeing? What am I hearing? And so forth. However, start to understand something. The actions that you take on a regular basis, that's what is most hardwired to you. You get what I mean? That is actually going to feel the most natural to you. Just like how, you brush your teeth every morning or you do certain habits like this, okay? Where it just makes sense, okay? It just makes sense at this point. You don't have to fight against those urges anymore. Like I know when I got out of college, I had a weird sleep schedule, right? Because I was staying up late, studying for exams, whatever it was. And now I had to fine tune and recreate my whole system again. And then when joining IMC, I remember there were times where I used to wake up at like 3 a.m. every day. Then 4 a.m., and 5 a.m., 6 a.m. Now I'm at like 8:30 a.m. That's like my wake up time now. But a lot of times I'll notice I'll wake up earlier than my wake up time, okay? And this is because my brain has been trained. It's in training. Everything is in training, okay? Your God's in training. That's the whole point of Primal Sutra. And that understanding that we are here to train ourselves to remember, to give ourselves the approval again, not to seek the approval on the outside world, not that the world will make us needy and feel that we need X, Y, Z in order to be happy when we really need what is within. Water is the best brain fuel you can give yourself. No cap, okay? Water, something that should be free, is sold in bottles. Do you get that? Buy water from the gym, it's a different price. You buy water from the grocery store, it's a different price. You buy water at a concert, it's a different price. It's still the same water. Why? Context dependent, bro. Your flow is context dependent. How you behave in one situation, your flow state is going to change in another situation or circumstance or outside environment or something, right? Like a lot of environments that are very enriching automatically tap you in the zone, right? What if you went on a beautiful date where you're both walking into like a botanical gardens, right? The beauty of those flowers and everything that you guys are going to be seeing is already going to be putting you into a presence, correct? So sometimes the amazement of the world, like going through many different places and shifting through this is why, in the whole social dynamics understanding of how we change the vibe around, right? We don't keep it stagnant in one tone, single tone. That's the most ineffective method of going about this life, is to live it in one tone, one monotone, monochromatically, okay? You have this whole world of technicolor available to you. So you need that spontaneity, okay? And yes, some people need these routines and openers and all these other stuff. But sometimes you can practice just practicing being you, and opening up authentically to what that moment calls for, because each moment is different. Hey, sure, it's okay to have premeditated things in your mind or whatever it is, right? Those are training wheels, though. I remember having those, okay? I remember them working at times, okay? I remember the first time when I told a girl, a very attractive girl, by the way. We ended up making out with each other at one point. I was wearing my big fuzzy jacket. You know my fuzzy jacket, right? I was wearing it in the podcast. She was like, oh, it's a very nice jacket. And she's like touching it, right? Now, some people's love language is physical touch, right? In that sense too. But she was being very flirty and touching the fluffy jacket. And I remember, this was a mystery line, right? Back in the day. I remember feeling so confident saying, hands off the merchandise. Shit ain't for free. It's $12 every time you touch me, right? I remember saying that and I felt so elated, right? I felt so, because I saw her reaction. I saw how she was like, oh my God, you're such dick, or whatever. Just hitting your hand, right? Just like continuously hitting your hand. That's another sign of flirting. There's a certain point of hitting your hand, which is not actually abusive, but it's actually flirtatious. You get what I mean? Why does something like that work? Why does push-pull work so well in terms of that world? That back and forth dynamic between two people. Of it's like this, no, it's like that. No, it's like this, no, it's like. So this is her, this is you. She's going into you. You're kind of leaning back a bit. She's kind of like, is he really even into me? She starts to question herself, moves back. You go in a bit, you go back. You go in, you go back. She comes in, she goes back. So push-pull doesn't look like push-pull, push-pull. It isn't like this robotic thing, right? 40 degrees in its frequency, and then again 40 degrees. Okay, no. Push-pull happens very lightly in the moment. Know the right degree of pull and the right degree of push. And that's when you're in the zone. You don't even question your push-pull anymore. You get what I mean? It's just a teasing that happens naturally and spontaneously and playfully in the moment. So these little silly moments, right? Two people interacting. There's these silly, funny, goofy moments that just shut down your brain, completely transcend you, make you feel like kids again, or make you feel like a complete buffoon, or make you feel like you're in an animated show, or make you feel like, whoa, I'm in like a reality TV show right now. Make you feel not so mundane. Takes you out of the context, right? And that's what taps you into the zone. This is why love taps you into the zone. This is why love chemicals are the greatest biohacker. If you're in love with someone, bro, that's going to take most of your consciousness and that's going to tap you in. It's going to make you mindful. It's going to make you conscious. But after a while in the relationship, guess what? It fizzles out naturally and both your shadows start to play. So what I'm telling you right now, man, what if you were in love with you? What if you were supposedly in love with someone, okay? You don't have to actually be in love with someone to experience these neurochemicals, because they're all coming from the thoughts and your beliefs and in your brain. So what if you had a belief system that created such a neurochemistry that would actually change your brain? And hey, isn't this what we're doing with programming ourselves, right? Listening to subliminals, putting ourselves into these theta waves where we're absorbing a lot of this information, these new teachings. We're reading the Master Key System. We're applying these different texts. The combination of status, dominance, and playfulness. Status and leadership, which is also associated with dominance. Playfulness, childlike curiosity, refined edge. And the versatility that you need in order to communicate with others. Okay? Can you keep up with them? Can you keep up with their pace of talking? Can you keep up with their vibe? Okay? Are you on a similar frequency of thought and feeling and things? Okay? When you're communicating with this person, there might be just a certain chemistry, and you can't control that, actually, how you feel about them. You can't control. That's attraction, right? It's just like, whoa, just felt something there. What was that? We had this song very early on in our process called Gone, right? By Trippie Redd and Paris Shadows, where it goes, is it love or is it lust? Cause I don't know who to trust. Do you love me or my drugs? Me up. Is it love or is it lust? Because love is the interconnectedness of all. It's the unity, it's the yoga. Lust is the carnal desire that we need to procreate and be on this planet and like have that little bit of that physical contact with each other. You know what I mean? That primal edge, that we're animals at the end of the day. What if you made sex into a meditation? What if you made sex into a meditation? How powerful would that practice be? Now, the thing here is, like I said, how the game happens, how it happens in the game, you got to make that happen way before in your mind, okay? And I'm going to tell you this story, bro. This is the story of how I lost my virginity. The week before I lost my virginity, I manifested that by actually imagining that I already had sex. Real talk, and I believed it with all my beingness that happened. Me and this girl who were kind of close at the time, right? We were kind of like fuck buddies, whatever you want to call it, right? That happened from a spontaneity too. I remember at the time, you know, I thought my skills of that whole thing that happened came from me like drinking an energy drink, okay? Now every time I was going out, I was like, man, I need to take this energy drink because it worked with that chick, you know, it worked that time. It was actually her just sending me a message, right? But it was from my thought form that made me believe that we were already close enough to have sex with each other. You see? If that psychic link was not created in my mind, if I didn't convince myself that I wasn't a virgin, right? But it did, guess what? It did. And from that point on, I was just hooking up a lot, okay? But then I had a girlfriend, okay? Was with that girl for a large period of my college and, you know, even later. I understood something, man. Back then, I was kind of just like a pretty boy, you know what I mean? I wasn't really like masculine. I wasn't within my masculine nature. So yeah, my pretty boy charm worked a little bit, but as I grew older, I started to understand that, wait a second, I need to learn how to be a man. If I don't learn how to be a man, it's gonna really impact me. And it actually came from me pretty late. I was a pretty late bloomer, guys, okay? I was doing men's work, I remember, back in like 2017, okay? That's not too long ago. And I started doing research into these male archetypes and understanding where do I fall short in these. How can I improve my kingliness? How can I improve all these different aspects? I think in all my relationships, I was trying so hard to change myself for the other person that's what the biggest flaw was. Straight up. If someone wants to change you and you change, you feel this bitterness and resentment towards them. Okay? Straight up. You gotta hold your own throughout that time. You gotta be like, look, this is my life. This is how I'm choosing to live it. There's no other explanation than the fact that I'm living it, okay? I truly believe that they're wisdom dakinis in this journey of life, okay? Embodiments of that female enlightenment, that wisdom that we see in other women. This is our process of Primal Sutra, what we began to discover. That women are going to teach you how to be a man through these relationships. How else are you going to learn? Okay? Women are going to test you. They're going to challenge you. Is he who he says he is? Is he really a cool guy? Or is he just pretending? Is he wearing like a fake chain and he just walked into the club and you know, he has all this talk, but can he walk the talk? Can he take care of me? Okay? If suddenly I get accidentally pregnant from this guy, am I like, cool, he'll take care of the kid? Or will he just run away and be avoidant and be a pathetic people pleaser around her? Men, if your woman is getting a lot of male attention, it can make you very insecure, right? It can make you feel like, oh, I'm gonna lose her, etc. Man, that has to do with your self-esteem and deservingness too, bro. Because think about this, right? If you felt like you were the hot girl for a change, and some of us guys doing this Matches into Dates program, okay, which by the way, May 4th is a 5-day challenge, okay? Sign up for that if you want to learn how to get online dates. Have you ever felt like a hot girl as a guy? Okay. You know that blasé attitude? You know what I mean? That hot girls have? Like, yeah, whatever. You know, recently there was a girl who texted me like, generally girls, very high value girls, they tend to be a little bit sassy, okay? It's a protective mechanism, okay, to see which guy kind of falls for it and which kind of pushes them away and which guys kind of put them in check. You get what I mean? So, you know, I recently had a girl send me a message with her eyes rolling back, and I said, don't roll those eyes at me, young lady. I'm gonna have them rolling in other ways. She sent me this emoji. Really? Okay. But hey, now at least the conversation is rolling, like the back of her eyes, okay? What would you have said to that? Can you overthink that answer? Yes, you can. You can think about it for weeks and days and months. Like, what is the best thing for me to say to her, man? Bro, that just happened in the moment, instantaneously. I just thought of it. If she was offended by it, if she's like, that's rude, I'd be like, how's that rude? I'm being honest, right? I just speak my truth. Or are you trying to figure out the most technological way and advanced way to communicate this one fragment of communication to her in such a way that, bro, just fucking tell her what you feel. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. When women say they want their men to be a rock, that does not mean that they become emotionally stone cold. It means you don't fluctuate with your boundaries and values. It means that you don't suddenly change and tomorrow you're like, you know what? Maybe I'm gonna be a Mormon. And you just go off and be a Mormon missionary. And she's like left all alone, like, So that's the thing, right? You gotta understand how to embrace this energy. What does this energy say about you? What does this energy say about her? My mentor Vince, he used to call himself the kissing saint, okay? And that was from my other mentor, AZD, who gave him that title of the kissing saint, because kissing someone is seen as a label as sinful, right? Oh, he's kissing all these women. But what's his reason? He's a saint. That paradox or that fight in the mind of the serpentine energy from Adam and Eve, and like we have to suppress the sex thing and like keep it in the lower chakras, and it's bad, and we have to stuff it down, and we have to live in this repressed sexual culture where nobody's liberated, right? And just kind of just like, you know, hold it in until it gets to a certain point. We have all these sex crimes and all these messed up mentalities, and look at the world at large today, how sexual energy is frustrated and frantic. So many disconnected men and disconnected women, where we need more connective men and connective women, like connective tissue through the beingness. You and your woman in your relationship, you can make this work, bro. I'm telling you, you can make this work, but you gotta understand her world and planet, and she's gotta understand yours. And through communication, you can make that merge, your minds can merge together, and it starts to become this weird telepathic thing at times, I'm telling you guys. Okay? If you really, really get close to someone, their thoughts become your thoughts. Okay? Shout out to all the girls that helped me evolve as a man. Straight up. Even if we didn't have physical interactions with each other, I remember there were certain times where I met certain women and they taught me a big, big, big lesson. They were all my wisdom dakinis at the time. If it hadn't been for that, I would have made some silly ass fucking mistakes in my future. So thank you to the divine feminine, man. Thank you to the goddesses in training. I feel it in my bones. All right, bros. I'm gonna end the video here. It's been a long video. I hope you enjoyed it. Have an incredible day. May the flow be with you. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that notification bell. You already know what to do. Slice it up. Let's go. Upward spiral. May you never be the same again. Os.